All right, you said that you really enjoyed it when I did a video outside, so I'm gonna do this one outside, and I'm gonna step into the sun because it feels good that the Zubimendi transfer might still be on, at least according to Indy Kalia. And I kind of rate him as a source. I don't know, let me know in the comments below what you guys think of him as like a transfer, ITK, whatever it is you wanna call it. What he said is, Zubimendi doesn't necessarily regret staying with Sociedad, but maybe regrets not going to Liverpool and taking the opportunity of joining, first of all, Slotsmen, but also Liverpool as a football club. I think he's probably seeing that loyalty is, you know, I think that's an incredibly admirable quality, and I think that is something in football that, you know, we should all be honouring. I guess staying at a club, I think there are a lot of people at the moment talking about hate watching him and all these kind of things. I think a lot of people should be valuing that he is someone who seems to want to have a good relationship with a club that he really cares about and stay in a place that, say that they need him or say that they really want him to be, you know, part of that, and, you know, that he's at home there. I think that's really important. I actually would welcome more players like that. I think that's why Xabi Alonso became so important to us, why so many of the Spanish players in the Benitez era, why people like Salah, why there are so many people who just get taken into our hearts as Liverpool fans because of that. So that is important, right? Secondly, I get it, like, you know, you can want to stay at your own club because you value them, but also you can want to still join a project. I don't know really how valuable it is to say, oh, you know, I hate him because he turned us down. I always think it's a slightly childish thing to say. You have no idea what the motivation was behind any of it. We don't know if the club said to him, and this is my real theory about this, whether if you stay, we can get someone else lined up. We're losing Marino. If you go, it's not going to play particularly well. It's not going to look great in the press. It's also not going to leave us in great stead. So the relationship that you have with us may appear, or at least actually be, slightly damaged because you've just sort of left us in the lurch. He is one of their better players. He's one of the better international players right now. There are a lot of people who are very interested in him before Liverpool made their approach and their advance. You remember that from Arsenal. You remember that from a number of different sides. He has the aura of one of these bigger Premier League players, not a Barclaysman, but a bigger Premier League player. So I get that too. Now let's go into what that means for Liverpool, what that means for Ryan Gravenberch, what that means for McAllister, what it would mean for Szoboszlai, what it would just mean for midfield rotation in the first place, because I think that's something that we're all a little bit not concerned about. I said I'd show you around Milan. I've literally just paced in the same place, but I actually have a laptop over there that's uploading something, so sorry about that. Like, there is a lot of graffiti. A lot of people saw that yesterday. The point is, yes, it could change the structure of the midfield. Yes, it may free up someone like Alexis McAllister to move further down the field, possibly play a more advanced 10. I'm not 100% sure that he is the 10 that Slot possibly wants, and I'm also not 100% sure that we will want to move Szoboszlai out of that, like, runner slash 10 position in the first place. But if we want to rotate it, if we want to control games in different ways, as we've seen Slot doing, deploying different shapes of midfield, Zubimendi would certainly be a variation in that midfield, B, amazing technical ability, and C, like a change in the way that we move the ball and a change in the shape. If you put a Gravenberch, McAllister, Zubimendi, or Gravenberch, Zubimendi, McAllister as the 10, that is a slightly different ball movement and press structure, you would imagine, than, say, if we've got the current midfield. And I appreciate that. I think Zubimendi is, you know, he's really valuable for his ball movement. He's really valuable for winning the ball back. All the things that we've said in the profile so far. We all know Zubimendi as a profiled player now, and why Liverpool didn't just go for any DM. I don't necessarily think he's a DM in the traditional sense. Obviously, he does sit a bit deeper. And that is why I think we're still sticking around until we find the right profile rather than any profile. Obviously, that is important, I think, especially to Liverpool, as you know, I'm not sure we're operating on an unlimited transfer budget, but I also think when you get to that level of the market, you're on the cusp of the Tchouaméni, Bellingham kind of type of player, and you're also on the cusp of getting into a bunch of players who possibly are not overhyped, but a lot of big numbers that then when they come to your team, they don't necessarily fulfill. And I think that's why Zubimendi seems so important to this Liverpool administration at the moment. I guess it does mean something else for our midfield as well, and it might mean that an Endo, who I think we were very ready to offload or at least move on. I think offload sounds like slightly disrespectful to him. In the summer, would probably be off. Even though he's talking about being very much in contention, which I obviously respect, and I think he's done a really good job actually of speaking about, you know, being part of this squad while he's been away on international duty, even while he's not been away on international duty. Here's the real tour, guys. I don't even see it. I don't even see the thing. There it goes. Fuck. Anyway, point is, right, he's won. Curtis Jones has been injured. I'm not sure that we know the profile of where he fits into a Slot team. Slot has really well profiled some of these players so far. He's really well profiled Alexis McAllister, obviously incredibly profiled Gravenberch, taking him to another level. I think profiling is one thing, but then motivating that player to fulfill that profile, changing their mentality or helping them with their mentality. I don't even know how much it needs changing. Was a really big part of this, and loads of people have spoken about, well, I see this player in Ryan, blah blah blah. I didn't hear you making those noises before. I didn't hear you sort of you know, pontificating like this over the guy. I think a lot of people were speaking about him as if he was some sort of busted flush. And maybe if Klopp stays, maybe if, you know, it's not, maybe if it's not a double pivot, maybe if it's a different structure of midfield or a different structure of management, or we like to move the ball differently, maybe we do move on from him. But it isn't. It's Slot, and he seems to have really motivated Gravenberch to the degree where he's put in 2 incredible man of the match performances, probably more to be honest, but 2 acknowledged man of the match performances against some of the bigger teams and more difficult sides that we've played in Manchester United and AC Milan, both of which have a devil on their crest. And I think, you know, for me, that speaks volumes to where we're at as a club and where we're at as a team. I think it's important, especially to me, to have players who fit what Slot wants. And if Gravenberch does that, which, you know, maybe I think a lot of us just maybe assumed he didn't. Is that true? Yeah, I think a lot of people assumed he didn't. Then that's good. I think it does mean something for Curtis Jones. I think it does mean something for Bajcetic, who lost 3-0 in the Champions League the other night, who is recovering from a very difficult injury. I think it might mean something. I don't know what it means for Tyler Morton. I'm not quite sure where we're at with Tyler Morton, if he's squad depth, whatever it is. I wonder if there is a body in there, and I wonder if he was sort of just another body. That seems unfair on him. It doesn't seem good. But Liverpool do seem to be quite ruthless. They do seem to obviously value the structure of their squad over just one individual career. And I think they know Tyler Morton, in terms of a player, will probably retain the most value. And because of the performances he's put in, because Slot might have wanted to take a look at him, he might stick around. But say in January, if there's a loan position, if Zubimendi or someone like that did come in, I'd imagine he will be the first one to go, just because I still think Liverpool are invested in Curtis Jones. The Curtis Jones situation is a difficult one. I think it's one that needs balancing out. First of all, he's a very talented technical player. He'll be very valuable on the market. But secondly, he is a homegrown player. He is an English player. He is someone who has an incredibly high ceiling, and he is very adaptable. He showed hints of that towards the end of Klopp. Klopp himself was clearly invested in continuing what Curtis Jones was doing on the back of words from people like Steven Gerrard, Jordan Henderson, Virgil van Dijk, people who'd all spoken to him and wanted to vouch for the guy. I think like that kind of thing, again, is very important. But when a new manager comes in, when he's not as invested in the journey of someone like Curtis Jones, not that I'm saying he isn't invested in the people, he doesn't care about the people, but I do think there is something to be said for a change in ball movement, a change in regime, a change in shape, all these kind of things. That's incredibly, like, there's going to be difficult to balance. There are going to have to be some sacrifices made within the squad. And I'm not necessarily saying that I think, you know, Slot's going to get rid of him. Yeah. By the way, massive group of people here just behind me. Look at that. See that? What's that? Don't even know. Thought they were coming from my laptop. Anyway, maybe they are coming from my laptop. They're all looking at me. Anyway, point is, right, Liverpool are now in a position where we've identified the guy that we want. We're in a big position of being able to sit back, wait in the transfer market. I think that's incredibly important. That puts all the chips in our box, and it allows us to wait to make the right transfer rather than just getting another body in, making a transfer. And again, I think that's really important. There's so many old people. Milan's not a child city, guys. Anyway, I also think then it would change what we might do with Szoboszlai. I'm not saying that we would get rid of him. I don't think we'd get rid of him at all. I think if anything, it would make him an even more attacking player. I think it may free him up. I think what we're currently assuming is that this midfield that has relatively worked relatively well, and I will remind you, the other night we had to make some adjustments. It would change things. I also think it would impact the role of Trent. I think it would probably make Trent's role a bit easier because, if anything, he would just get to recycle the ball a lot more because of someone like Zubimendi. Zubimendi wins it back, recycles it very quickly, gives it out to the players who are really good at passing. That is Trent, that is probably McAllister, that is possibly even Szoboszlai. And I just think it's kind of weird. Adding one player can make such a difference to the rest of the team, can make such a difference to the makeup of the rest of the squad, can make such a difference to the way that Liverpool put this team together. It's not that they need to sign 4 or 5 players, even though there is that rumour of a left-sided centre-back, which I think is fair enough, because we will need some backup for Virgil van Dijk, and we do need a succession plan. And then on the other side of that, a midfielder, someone in there who plays the Zubimendi role, as we put it, which apparently is a very unique profile, which I kind of agree. I get it. There aren't many other people who profile like him on the market or available in that way. And also, I think if you find someone who you think is going to be, you know, like a real heartbeat of your team, in the same way as we've uncovered Gravenberch and McAllister and all these guys, we're at the moment sort of assuming, if you like, that this is the final form of where Liverpool are at. I'm not assuming that, but you get what I'm saying when I say that. Like, at the moment, this feels like, oh, it's so different to Klopp. It's so different to everything else that we've seen recently. We've not quite got the vision to be able to see where it's going, and I just wonder what Zubimendi would do in that midfield, what he would enable those other players to do, and maybe what Slot is looking for him to do, how Slot profiles him and how Slot wants him to play. Maybe that's really important. That's why we're waiting for him ahead of, again, just going out there and getting another profile. I'd love to know what you guys think. I will talk about left-sided centre-back at some point. There are a lot of left-sided centre-backs that we could possibly get right now, so that's probably a video for later in the week. I'm going to be in Lake Como over the weekend. I know, right? So, yeah, if you're around, let me know, guys. It's been great to meet some of the people. I really enjoyed meeting. There was like a massive group of guys the other night. I met on the underground to the stadium, met loads of people outside the stadium. I met loads of people outside the Soccer Archive shop as well, which is a really great thing that's popped up there in Milan. Just look it up, it's in Milan. So I've met loads of really great Liverpool fans. I've really enjoyed meeting you, really enjoyed. There was a guy, there was one guy from Egypt who I had a really good chat with. There was a couple of guys from Liverpool. There's one guy from Newcastle, I think. So yeah, thanks for saying hi is all I'm saying. And I hope you have enjoyed Milan. I still think that we've not, like, you saw the way that the other night it was, Liverpool got not easily opened up. We've seen this a few times now, where, you know, the pressing of the opposition, we have to make slight adjustments. That's not an unusual thing for a manager to have to do in the game, but I think we're a little bit overly obsessed with tactics at the moment, just because we're so into profiling Slot as a manager and profiling him as a, you know, what is it that he's doing? I think a lot of people are overlooking the holistic side of it and like just the overall evolution of the team. What is... It's gone. Point being, Zubimendi will also be contributing towards that, and I think that's worth acknowledging, looking into, and following, sort of diving into how Slot wants to construct the side. It still feels a little bit like a takeover from previous manager, and there are times where he makes some tactical adjustments and we sort of go, whoa! And I think in previous eras, we probably wouldn't have given Klopp that credit, we probably wouldn't give a couple of other managers that credit, and actually the weird thing is, the reason we can probably do it is because they are quite crude changes. Like, it was quite a crude change against Milan, pushing Trent forward, pushing their fullback a little further back, moving the midfielder just over a little bit, allowing Alexis that little bit of space to go out there and press in a slightly different direction, all these kind of things. If we can spot them, opposition managers can spot them, and I think that's probably why we want a Zubimendi, because what we can do is change the midfield quite fundamentally, which will make a big difference. because it allows us way more control. I also think Zubimendi is a real thinker. Not that none of our midfielders are. I think Gravenberch seems like a very intelligent player. Same goes for McAllister, same goes for Szoboszlai. But what I am saying is, I think Zubimendi seems like the kind of guy is an in-game manager, similar maybe to Alexis McAllister, knows when to put a tackle in, knows when to foul someone, knows where to move the ball, can take those kind of tactical instructions, synthesize them himself, and make them into something which is going to be game-changing. I think that's the X factor for him. I think Slot and Liverpool profile him as a game changer. And that, my friends, is where I'll pause the video. Have a good day. Hope you have a good one. And I'll chat to you in a little while. Much love. Bye.